All right, so this is the whiteboard today. I didn't get that much stuff done yesterday because it was I was on call with the homie. We're going over next steps. Did a couple things like posted a vlog, of course. Did a little bit of sports betting. Read a little bit, but moreover, I play piano. Never stopped playing piano for show. Did my push-ups and shit, and so I was really working on tomorrow's schedule too, or today's schedule yesterday, because that one right there, I need to switch from procrastination to something now because we're finishing up on this bankroll right there, so we can start implementing things over. And I'm comfortable now, so I need to push it up. I was getting too comfortable in my old schedule, so now it's time to go more. So this is going to be the new schedule I created with ChatGPT, and so this is just going to help me just focus my work more. I love a schedule like this. I used to follow one back in college, and so this is one I use ChatGPT to optimize. And so first we start with workout plus stretch at 8 to 8:30. Right now it's 9:35 because I woke up at 9, which I could have forced myself to wake up at 8, but I just wasn't that disciplined with that, and that's on my end. But then again, life's life. And so 8 to 8:30 workout / stretch, 8:30 to 9 shower plus breakfast. So I'm gonna skip all this. I'm gonna go right into coding, and so coding to 10. This point we might not even make it there, but we'll see. Sports betting analysis. So this is just gonna go over my charts again, like my sports betting charts. Piano practice for 45 minutes. Reading / studying. Probably just read. Editing or vlogging, so I'll probably edit the video there. Lunch plus recharge, and then stock trading research and practice. So we're starting to go over stocks now. Chess drills and analysis. I'll probably switch out chess drills for the photos I'm editing right now. Walk, reflect, planning session. So maybe I'll just have a little chill session. Coding for a second future project. So I'll start coding again for another 2 hours. Dinner and light decompression, social time, content planning, session editing, and then wind down. So that's gonna be the day. I'm gonna do the checkpoint. So I'm gonna start getting coding right now, just so I can start catching up on some work. We're gonna have another double coding, a 2-hour coding block later. So I'm not gonna stress adding more time. I'm just gonna try to follow the schedule as close as I can. So we'll be there. All right. So we just went over bankroll, and I finally have figured out what the most profitable bankroll strategy is for my betting style, because I bet only parlays on DSF apps, and so low win rate, high win multiplier. So with such a high loss rate, I had to choose the correct bankroll strategy, and that's where ChatGPT came in to help. I went through plenty of slips. Hopefully this is seeable, but thinking, how many is this? This is like 11 up here, 11 graphs of just straight bankroll of different strategies. So we did the fixed $5 unit size base. This is all based with a $500 bankroll size. So we did a $5 fixed betting size. We did a full Kelly, half Kelly, quarter Kelly. We did just my bankroll. I did optimal F. That's a fixed bankroll size based on like a percentage. So like 2%, 1% of your bankroll, 5%, 10%, 20%, and that's fixed. So whatever you start with, it will use for the rest of the time, I think, or it might progressively move up. I'm not sure how the optimal goes. And then profit lock reset 10% with a 2% stake. So this means like after your bankroll moves up 10%, it will lock, and you always bet 2% of your of the locked bankroll. And so I think it's like 10% locked. So yeah, you'll bet 2% of the 10%, something like that, or 2% of the whole bankroll, but at a lock of 10%. So if it hits that lock, then you're done basically. And so you try to figure out how to get closest. So we did 20% lock and 33% lock. And then we did quarter, I already said that. And then risky constrained Kelly, cap 2%. Risk constrained Kelly, cap. I don't know with the, I still have to go into deeper on like how the Kelly works. I know there's a math like
like it includes math, but I don't know, or it has a math equation that calculates it, but I haven't really broken it down. I've just taken ChatGPT's word that it's a real strategy and it's not just bullshitting. But this is all 15 right here. These are all the 15 strategies. And so if we want to get a little closer. And so these are all the whatever you call it. The original net, I don't think I started with like 400. Wait, I think, oh yeah, it's all based off 400. Okay, so it's all right. So based on this, so you have the optimal F 5% up here with the ending bankroll of 1,400 starting with 4. So that's a 252% return. Max upswing was $7,000. Max downswing was $7,000. And so these swings are just so detrimental that if I went on a losing streak pretty early on, it would completely wipe me out. So even though it's the most profitable, that's playing heavily into luck. That's heavily luck basis. The optimal 2% is a little better on the swings because the max upswing was 13 and the ending bankroll is 2. But if you come look at the return DD, that's where you, I mean, like the optimal 2% is not too bad. So around like the 2% is not too bad because honestly I don't know what the return DD means anymore. If it ever went under $200, that's probably like a lock in the sense of like this false, so like it never hit. And then the risk constrained Kelly, 1,200 or 1,100 max upswing, downswing, roughly the same as the optimal 2%. So these are pretty close into each other. And then you have your lock stake, and then you have your lock stake, and so like yeah, those were the top 3. And then these get where it gets rough. So the bottom ones, these are the worst ones because these are negative variance. Optimal F 10%, full Kelly, optimal 20%. These are just too volatile. I mean, like you can see this one went up to $18,000. This one went up to $5,000, but it's not sustainable in the long run. So there's no point of running that. And then you kind of have like the middle of the pack where these aren't too bad, but they're not. You're leaving an edge on the table. So these are kind of like. These are long term, but these are where you're kind of maximizing your edge on the top. The top 3 really are you're maximizing your edge. And so when I had ChatGPT run it, I ask it what's the most profitable based on that and give me the reasons why. Here. Thanks for the patient. Quick update. So this. What implies long term if your model random each which is -1 variant, push is 0, push win is a 0.5 multiplier or plus profit, push win is a 2 plus 2 unit. Move that over there so you can see is a plus 2 unit. 5 is a win. So it's really a 6x, but it's basically up plus 5 units. Those are empirical probabilities. Then the growth optimal Kelly fraction, F to the power of multiplier is the value maximized. And so this is the equation. I do not know. I mean, I've learned log and I know F is variable. I learned this back in high school. Don't remember it now. I'll just learn it really quick, probably in the next session. But for this, FME ends up a small few percent of bankroll per slip because the distribution has many ones, losses, push subs. This is going over here. Practical takeaway, the ranking you wanted. Given the above, the most probable strategy in the long run, highest expected log growth, while staying practical on drawdowns among the families we tested. Risk constrained Kelly 2% to 5%. Behaves very close to the growth optimal for your distribution because 5 or F to the power of is only a few percents anyway, but the cap protects you in the short-term variance spikes. If you only want one number, cap at 2% is the smoothest choice. Cap at 5% is the bolder pick. So this gives me flexibility if say I do. Because I do take them based on percentages. So if I take something closer to my 56% hit rate, then I will keep it closer to 2, but if I'm hitting a higher variant, I can really bump it up to 5%. And so optimal with fraction 2.5, picking up 2. Okay, so yeah, this is the other one, 2 to 5, picking up full swings. 2 is more controlled. 5 delivers the best terminal bankroll, but is also the wildest. Quarter Kelly 25 because the F is truly. And so yeah, these were already ranked at the top for the most, as you can see. Maybe not Quarter Kelly. Quarter Kelly's all the way down there. But yeah, these 3 were already at the top. And so I'll probably, but you see how like these upswings, I mean like the risk was 6K right there, 6K up here, Quarter Kelly 12, but those are the max upswings. But it's just good for, you know, high volatile times. So for sure playing that into the factor of like splitting up my bankroll, I could do that. And so yeah, it just gives me the final rundown. Highest growth with risk controls nearly matches Kelly's growth, but without explicit caps. Quarter Kelly, smoother curves, safer for conservative play. Half Kelly, 50% aggressive growth but larger swings. Full Kelly, highest upside but very volatile and risk of ruin. So if you want to run a tight, yeah. So if y'all want me to go deeper into this, let me know. I mean, like I'll probably go deeper into this later on, but if somebody's watching and they really actually want to know, I got you. But now we're gonna move over to piano practice. I'm already cutting into my time. It's 10:56 right now, and piano practice started at 10:45. And so I'll probably, where's my photos? So 10:45 to 11:30 piano practice. So we'll probably play to 11:30 right now. 11:30 to read and study. So it's 10:56. We only probably got 30 minutes, but I'll show you all the conclusion of piano practice when I get there.
All right, y'all want to see some clean shit? All right. So basically, I have the whole song done, not perfected, except the outro. And the outro is very small, and I'll probably learn that next time. But I'm gonna play the whole thing through, and this is basically the whole song, except the outro.
That's the outro right there. Nah, but that's basically the whole song through. I didn't play it that well, obviously. My wrist hurts after practicing, but got that done. It was real easy. Honestly, easiest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm just kidding. But next up, we'll get to reading. That's what's gonna be. Not this picture. This picture. All right, piano practice ends at 11:30. It's 11:32 right now. We'll do reading till then. All right. Yeah, so we'll learn the outro at the end, but that's basically the whole song through. It's pretty cool. Alright, we just got finished reading pages 66 to 61, Amanda Symbols by Carl Jung. And this is the summary I wrote on these pages. Not the whole subchapter itself, but just these pages I wrote, because the whole subchapter I went over in a previous video. Or not the whole subchapter, but parts of the other subchapter. So, reiterating the idea that the unconscious actually can comprehend things like our conscious mind, but in a different way. Jung states that just as the conscious mind uses fact and rational thoughts to come to an answer, the unconscious, he uses poetic to describe the way of thinking. For example, a doctor would describe a sickness with fever, irritation, etc. The unconscious would describe it through a house being your body, a fire, the fever. He goes into further reasoning, saying that the unconscious is the archetype mind, not the mind of a personal bias, which is the conscious. The archetype mind has its own reasons for and intentions. For that, it is not the same as your conscious. He later states that this is where myths, religions, philosophies are created, influencing people and societies as a whole. The hero archetype is spread throughout history in different cultures to come and delete the evil and save the good. This leads to people doing dances, sacrifice, prayers, etc., for it is a strong belief that resonates deeply. Through this one can eliminate evils in oneself through a strong connection to the hero, giving someone almost superhuman powers. He furthers his point with an example of a closer to primitive tribe in Africa, where they do a morning ritual to their god with a spit and breath. When Jung asked why they performed the prayer, they laughed and in simple terms said, because they've always done this. Jung uses deeds came before thoughts. So for man to run primarily on the archetype could easily perform deeds with no conscious thought, for that came later. So the statement that it is what we've always done, one can assume that they are not consciously thinking of what they are doing, but unconsciously performing. He hardens his point with analogies like we would laugh at the idea of an animal or plant growing itself, but there is a belief that our mind invented itself. For as a seed becomes a plant and a prehistoric creature becomes a modern-day animal. He then dives deeper into spirits and demons, for this is how people could control when something bad happens or good. For it is not you, it's one of the previous mentioned. Now in modern day, humans have much more free will, quote unquote free will, in activities they indulge in, the amount of effort put into work, for they are not surrounded by chance and drumming anymore. Jung brings it home with the stating that because the world is different doesn't mean we escape our gods and demons, for they have new names. A man runs restless with conscious complications, drugs, and all of the above, for that causes neurosis. So personally, it is quite an interesting part, and for sure, like, I could dive deeper into this idea, which I probably will think further on these ideas. Was me just summarizing it. I haven't really had time to digest what I've read, but for as what it is quite interesting points. It is a very interesting topic, and for sure, like, I can even do a whole video on this solo, on an idea like this, because there's so much to go into in the thought process of it. But it is quite intriguing for me. And so that's the book club summary, and now I'm going to get into editing the vlog, which this summary took almost like 30 minutes to write. before I went back. Like, it's crazy that an hour of 5 pages, like, I guess I'm really like actually trying to retain what I'm reading every single page, but 5 pages and a whole summary and for reading took almost an hour, which is crazy. But we're gonna get in the video editing. From trading before and coming into this position where I'm starting again. I mean, I stopped trading in April, which was due to reasons of too much mental anguish. Like, I was really almost, I was profitable before I blew the account, and then and just that I couldn't come to terms with, and it just put me into where I couldn't even trade. I can't even think about it. And like now, like going back to it, I don't know what the feelings are. I mean, I can identify the feelings, just like a bunch of negative feelings that I associate with trading. And so like if it was easy, then everybody would be able to do it. But it is difficult. And from the very first time I read it, one of the first books I read was Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. And he states like, there's this little kid, he's never seen a dog before. He goes up and he pets the dog, and the dog bites him. And forever, like, not forever, but the next time that kid sees a dog running around, he's gonna be scared of that dog because he associates with fear. And I used to almost scoff at that idea of being afraid of it, but honestly, every fiber in my body, whenever I got back into it today, I spent 2 hours just moving back. And honestly, 2 hours didn't get that much work done. At least I got my foot wet in the water again. Tomorrow should be a better day, but like, every inch of my body was telling me, no, don't, like, stay away. So now it's kind of full circle coming into that realization. So for sure I have more pondering to go off about that and more stuff to deal with on my end. But yeah, it's gonna be quite the journey. I'm happy that I'm pushing forward though. I'm happy that I set this goal out because I know what I will do. And if I set this as my goal, I'm gonna do it. And I truly do really enjoy it. So like, I already know I could be profitable in it, no question. It just comes down to the mental part. And that's something where I struggled with, and it's still something I'm struggling with whenever I'm not even trading. So just wanted to throw that out there just so I speak it out loud. It's been weighing on my mind for this past 2.5 hours. But no, I'll tell you right now, by the end of these vlogs, by the end of this arc, I'm gonna be my fucking killer. I already know. I just wanted to throw that out there. Alright, so I just spent 2 hours writing this code. Weak joke. So, as last time, I was on the, because we're about to go through a lot, so let me get prepped. But last time, I was talking about the thermo converter that I made, which is the converter I made that changes Fahrenheit to Celsius, and Celsius to Fahrenheit, and exit. And so then ChatGPT gave me a list of things I needed to work on. So it was put def functions at the top, so it's easily reusable and neat. Add expect value error. Please enter valid numbers. So if a letter was typed, it wouldn't just pop up as an error and close you out of the thing. It would actually just reset. Or add a round sequence. So like you can type in. So if by the the product is, instead of like Celsius 3.33, it would be like Celsius 33, or 33.33 would be Celsius 33. And so don't assign print to a variable, so I just clean whatever you call it, clean coding, allow decimals with float, and so that's just changing the float to integers. And so then there was other concepts that was on the ChatGPT side. Let me scroll for a little bit. Alright, it's right here. Alright, so it was the, did it go down? No, where'd it go? Okay, so it was add Kelvin conversion, and so it just gave me the conversions, and it told me how to, what I needed it to do to get that like done. And so it was add Kelvin. It was to add the float, and instead of int, what I just went over in the notes, round the output, I went over that in the notes, and then keep history. So this is a little bit of like the phase 2, because I'm in phase 1, which ChatGPT is calling beginner, and I'll go over what phase 1 was too. I know it's not too structured, but fuck it. And so this one's about list and adding lists to it, and so I had to learn how to do that. And so that consisted of history, append, and then this is like what it will store as the list. Like it gave me how to do the list, as you can see like right here, but it didn't tell me where to put the list. And so the learning curve was figuring out how to place this list and how to get this list working, and I had to place history way up here above everything. I couldn't put it in the while true, because while true would keep resetting this list, and that's what I figured out. But I didn't have to put everything together. I had to redo these. I had to repeat these multiple times, change the F to C, change the F to K, C to F, and I had to round it off to, and then I had to type in the def, which is all up here now. These are all the new ones that I wrote, and then the step 2 were the ones that I already had. And so I had to redo all the numbers. I had to make more numbers. And so then the value error, try, accept value error, continue. I did copy that because I had no clue how to implement that. But now I understand it, and I'm getting better at it. And that's a little bit of like a phase 2, step 2. And so this is kind of like, this is basically like, I for sure know my phase 1, which is just the bit intro, and then I've tapped into some of the phase 2, and that was the whole point with expanding on the project, was for me to implement this newer stuff. And so I'll show you how this looks. So it's Python converter .py. It's storming outside. Alright, so C, look, we'll do F to C. So we'll do 32, that's my favorite. And so you see it plants the history now out here. Not plants the history, but it'll show the history right here. And so 0 to 2, and so then we'll do Celsius to Kelvin. So we'll say 4, and we'll do 0 to Kelvin. Alright, 273 for Kelvin. History right here. It's 0 Celsius to 27.3 Kelvin. And 32.0, and I can use a round function to make this look better, but honestly it's too much work now. I'm already past this. And so then it's to 0F, and so it's just keeping the history, and so it's just adding on top. And so then we'll do 5, which is Kelvin to Fahrenheit, so we'll do 273, and that's 32. Alright, and you see full circle with all the history right here. And then we go back, if we typed in 4, and then we typed in just random numbers, it'll say enter a valid number. And so that's kind of the new stuff. So it's impossible to break out of this loop until you just click 7. And that's that. And then ChatGPT was clicking me because it's your, and it says it's supposed to be you are welcome. Which is kind of funny. But yeah, so that's like the whole code I wrote. Most of it was off the dome. I'd say the only thing I really wasn't was just the continue, value, accept, and try. Everything else and then of course just like this print, but like the way to apply it I did not know how to apply that. And so most of it was off the dome, and then I knew how to do these just by off the dome too. And so that concludes for phase 1. And I'll show you what phase 1 really was consisting of. We'll expand it like this. So this is just me writing all my coding. This is the whole chat logs. Coding. We're getting up to phase 1. Alright, so this is phase 1. And so solidifying understanding. So understand the basics. So the first task was just to download, say hello world, run your front print function. That's what everybody does. Practice variables and data, so get comfortable using data types. So this is like kind of the work through I followed through. Y'all did see me write all that code at the start, which did actually benefit me within understanding this whenever I got to this stage, but I did still have to learn what actually everything meant. And so variables, you can give value to anything really. So like you can type in hallelujah and then equal anything you want, and that'll create a variable. Anything inside the parentheses is a string, of course, that's just text. Integer is your positive and negative numbers. Float is your decimal numbers. Anything with decimals, and of course just whole numbers too. And a boolean is a true or false. So like, is student 5, 7, and then if not, false. I don't know. I actually do need to practice my booleans, but I did use booleans before, and that was just true or false. So like, for like the while, so like while, or if user choice is equal to, no, but while true, you see, the while true. So we do use that. Oh, wrong thing. All right, and then just learning things, how to update age, how to age, how to add this variable into a print function. And so then wrote the program how to did that. Practice control flow. So if else, so listing basically like conditions. Yeah, conditions is called. And so you see where the conditions were played apart into the code, where if user, elif user, elif, else. And else is always gonna be the last one. And so yeah, elif, if. And so then creating loops. So for and while. For sure I use while in this, but I did not use for, which I was kind of working on for today. This is just for in movies print. Yeah, this is for a list. But yeah, so for or while. So yeah, for is really to call on strings, and while true is really, or like while is really to like keep write a program using while and keep the input until user types exit. Yeah, simple like that. And then practice functions. So functions is def. That was the functions, and then you're able to do that, which of course I added a top up here, all these functions. Yeah, and so whenever I finished all that, I was able to do I already wrote the basic calculator. Simple quiz just seemed boring to me, and I actually would use a therm. I wouldn't use this, but it's good to know how to convert things. So I made a temperature converter, and that's what it consists of. And that was 2 weeks of just coding and learning what everything means. And then this is just extra information that I didn't know, like int. I didn't know int was integer. And these are just constant questions I kept asking. I would go through them all, but that's just a whole lot. But that's really what consisted of phase 1, and like kind of just learning everything, and finishing the small project. I gave it. It told me how to upgrade it. It says exactly live key functions. I think phase 1, how my project understands my content. Perfect questioning phase 1. Yeah, this is just me asking